Hello, everyone. This is Natalie Matthews from Apt Associates, and I want to welcome you all today to today's webinar, which is called Sage Guidance for ESG Recipients. And the topic, as the name describes, is to go over how to utilize the Sage system to submit your ESG CAPER data. So I am going to spend just the first couple of moments going over the logistics for the day today, as well as introducing our speakers, and then we will start hearing directly both from HUD and the Partnership Center on this new process. Okay, so quick, again, overview of logistics is that due to the high number of registrants that we had today, which was several hundred, we have automatically muted everyone's phone lines. So at no point during the course of our webinar today will you have an opportunity to verbally engage with us. This is, of course, to cut down on background noise and to discourage any unintended sharing of background conversations. So that's why we have muted everyone today. However, we do still very much want to hear from you, and we want to understand and hear your questions. So the mechanism for you to do that will be to submit your questions via the Q&A box. You should see towards the top right-hand part of your screen what looks like a question mark inside of the box, and then right below that, it simply states Q&A. That's where you can submit a question, and again, please use that. Please do not use the chat box to send us questions, but again, submit those through the Q&A. Additionally, today's webinar is being recorded, and we will provide both a recording, a transcription of today's webinar, as well as, of course, the slide deck that we will go through. We will share all of that on the HUD Exchange after the webinars occur. We will aim to do that very soon, but it usually takes at least a week for that to get all posted to the HUD Exchange. I do want to also mention that there is a second webinar that is being held this week that will be held on Thursday, October 19th. That webinar is for sub-recipients, and in just a couple of moments, HUD is going to go over in some detail what the difference is between recipients and sub-recipients for ESG so that we can make doubly sure that the guidance that we're going through today makes sense for you. So again, today we're focused on recipients. Later on in the week will be a webinar just for sub-recipients. So today's presenters are listed up here on the screen right now. We've got Marlisa Grogan, who is from the HUD Office of Special Needs and Assistance Programs, or SNAPS, along with Michelle Budzik from the Partnership Center, and Michelle is going to be doing the live demonstration of Sage to, again, really illustrate how the system can be used to submit your CAPER. And then Natalie Matthews, again, will be here today to help moderate, to answer questions, and to do a couple minutes of wrap-up towards the end. The learning objectives are listed up here on the screen. I'm going to briefly state these and then turn things right over to HUD. So again, we're focused on going over how to utilize the Sage system. First, we'll start by going over the process for the data flow from HMIS, your Homeless Management Information System, to Sage. Then HUD will go over in some detail what the data entry process is within the Econ planning suite, because that is still an element of the CAPER submission process. And then again, since today is focused on recipient guidance, there will be some information on how you all as recipients should be coordinating with your sub-recipients. And then that last piece, which will be the majority of our time together over the next hour, will be that demonstration, and Michelle will go over all of these elements that are listed up here on the screen right now. So with that, I am going to pause and turn things over to Marlisa Grogan so that Marlisa can get us started. Marlisa?
Hi, everyone. My name is Marlisa Grogan. I'm the ESG team lead from the Office of Special Needs Assistance Programs at HUD, and I'm sure I've had the pleasure of being in touch with a lot of you over the course of last year's reporting process to deal with Ecard issues. So I'm really fortunate to be here, and I'm excited to present this new reporting system to you, Sage, which is already a process for COCs, but is now an opportunity for ESG recipients. I've already received some feedback from a number of you about the transition from Ecard to Sage, it being so sudden for some of you, news that is really only about a week old. And our goal by the end of this webinar is that you will see that this process is easier, less burdensome, and essentially the same reporting requirements as Ecard, but just a different place where the comma-separated value, the CSV file that's being generated by subrecipients, the homeless assistance providers, where that's being saved to or uploaded. So I know that some of you are panicking, but by the end of this webinar, I'm confident that you will see the benefits of Sage and rest assured that the process is largely similar and easier. So you'll notice that throughout the presentation, Sage reporting is going to be described as optional at this time. That is because reporting requirements need to comply with the Paperwork Reduction Act requirements, and while there are some pending questions about PRA, we're making this process available to you right now from the get-go, not only because this is the direction that HUD is headed for HMIS reporting, but also because this system is going to make your reporting process easier for you and for your subrecipients. So I'm throwing around the term recipient and subrecipients a lot, and we want to get on the same page right from the get-go. So when we refer to ESG recipients throughout this webinar, we're referring to the states, territories, cities, and counties that receive an ESG grant directly from HUD. So they're the folks, you all, that we call ESG recipients because we're awarding you ESG funds directly. And we're referring to ESG subrecipients as your awardees, the local governments or private nonprofit organizations that receive an ESG sub-award from one or more ESG recipients. Next slide, please. So Sage is the reporting system that you may already be familiar with through the Continuum of Care program, but if you're not, it's an online portal for the submission of aggregate de-identified data from HMIS or comparable databases via a comma-separated value, CSV import, which is the file that was used and uploaded into Ecard for last year's 2015 CAPER. Access to Sage is at this website, www.sagehmis.info, and essentially to just boil it down for what this is really affecting as far as overall CAPER requirements goes, it replaces screen CR65 in the Econ Planning Suite, and it also replaces Ecard. So if you choose to report in Sage, you no longer need to fill out screens CR65 with manual data entry, and you no longer need to collect all of your subrecipient CSVs and upload them manually into Ecard. We'll explain how that exactly works in Sage. And Sage, as I mentioned, is already being used for COC APR reporting. Next slide, please. So the process for registering in Sage only affects ESG recipients. ESG subrecipients must not register in Sage. There's no function for subrecipient reporting, so this only affects you all as ESG recipients. Only registered users have access to the system, so subrecipients' role and interface with the system is different, which we'll explain in a bit. ESG recipients register for Sage either automatically, so the ESG contacts that we were able to identify and download from the Ecard were automatically set up in the system. So you may have noticed that you received a confirmation email yesterday If you did not, there's still the possibility that we automatically registered you if you were an ESG contact in your Ecard submission. Check your junk email if you're not seeing this email. If it's not in your junk email, check your firewall to make sure that you can receive emails from Sage. And third, if you're just not seeing it anywhere and you don't think it's a firewall issue, then submit a question to the AAQ and let us know that you need to register and that you have not received an email confirmation indicating that you already have been set up. So please, if you are getting any questions from your subrecipients, reiterate to them that they must not register in Sage. Do not have them send an AAQ requesting registration. They will access the system via link, and it's only for the purpose of uploading their CAPR CSV report. So they're going to click on a link that they're going to get through an email that is system generated. The link will enable them to upload their CSV file, and they're done with the system. Next slide, please. So this is the data flow from HMIS, from the very point at which data is being entered into HMIS or a comparable database, all the way through the point where the HUD CPD field office is going to be looking at recipients' CAPR submission. So first, subrecipients, and these are the homeless providers who are providing direct services to ESG-funded program participants. They're going to be entering client-level data into their HMIS or comparable database. That's going to go on throughout the reporting process. The second step is recipients sending their subrecipients emails from Sage that contain an upload link for each of the projects funded under ESG for the recipient's program year. In the demo, you will see that you'll have, as recipients, you'll have the ability to basically compile a list of your subrecipients in the system by entering in project information and your subrecipient's contact information. Sage will be able to generate a link. Each link is specific to each project, and it will give subrecipients the ability to click on that link to upload their CSV. So it's steering away from what you had to do in the past where you would have to save your subrecipient CSV files from a number of different places and keep track of them on your own. Now the system really does that for you automatically, and you have a built-in tracking system to know which subrecipients submitted their reports, which ones still need to, and basically a consistent way to do that. We are encouraging you in step 3 to send a follow-up email to recipients to confirm that the upload links were sent via Sage. So basically to tell your subrecipients you should have gotten an email from Sage, and along with the deadline for subrecipients to upload CSV, the CSV ESG CAPR report. So we know that as recipients, you all have varied processes for the way you want your subrecipients to report your information. Some of you start the process in a considerably early fashion. So we are not attempting to set deadlines for your subrecipients for you. So it's a good idea for you just to drop them an email, make sure that they are keeping an eye out for the Sage email link, and then also to let them know when you would like them to start uploading their CSVs in Sage. Step 4, subrecipients work with their HMIS lead to generate the CSV ESG CAPR 2017 report from HMIS or their comparable database for each ESG-funded project. So they should be in close contact with their HMIS lead to make sure that they're able to generate the CSV, to try to pinpoint any problems, programming or data entry oriented, to make sure that the CSV is functioning right, that the data looks as it should, to set them up for the best possible or easiest process for uploading it into the system. Step 5, subrecipients download their CSV report from HMIS or the comparable database and upload it into Sage via the upload link. So after they've done some behind-the-scenes checking and working on the report with the HMIS lead, it's time for them to download the report and then upload it into Sage via the link. Once all of your sub-recipient CSVs are uploaded, you as recipients will check to see that all the project level imports are there, and you will have the ability to look at them in Sage and to accept or reject them. In addition to doing that, you will complete data fields containing submission information, which is just very basic contact information and also HMIS-related data quality questions so that we were able to assess how much data we're getting, if there are any projects that are missing, and submit the report into Sage. And then you would download a Sage combined report, which you would take for purposes of public comment and also to upload on screen CR00 of the Econ Planning Suite. So all of your CAPER data is centralized in one submission in the Econ Planning Suite. And then finally, once recipients submit their CAPER report in Sage, your CPD rep associated with your CAPER submission will get a notification, an email notification automatically. And he or she will know that they can go into Sage and they can review your HMIS data in the system. They also have the ability to review any comments that you may add with your CAPER submission, and they can also follow up with you regarding any questions or concerns that they may have. Next slide, please. So we want to make sure that there's a special note about victim service providers in Sage. As victim service providers are aware, they're only permitted to enter data into a comparable database. So DB providers are not able to enter data into HMIS. So their CAPER reports must be generated from the comparable database. Victim service providers are still able to utilize Sage, however, for the submission of their reports to HUD. So Sage is fully functional for comparable databases, and a reminder that comparable databases are expected to have the same functionality as HMIS systems insofar as generating the CSV. If they are unable to do so, it's important that they reach out to you, their ESG recipient, and it's also a good idea for you as ESG recipients to be in close contact with those subrecipients that are DB providers to try to address any difficulties that they may have generating CSVs. You do have the ability as ESG recipients to decide to provide DV or any subrecipients that have difficulty generating the CSV with an exception template. And this is emailed to them through the email, the same process by which recipients are sending their subrecipients in the submission link used to upload the data. So they would get a CSV exception template, and that would give them the ability to enter their aggregate data manually, which could then be uploaded in Sage via the email link instead of a CSV. So this is a workaround that is meant to be a one-time option, and there's still the full requirement for DV providers to be working towards CSV generation and submission by the next reporting period. Next slide, please. So we've received some questions already about the timing of the transition from Ecard to Sage. And so in the listserv message that you hopefully received, you've read that October 1st is the time when subrecipients should start using the updated CSV ESG CAPER 2017 report, and that CSVs should be uploaded in Sage versus Ecard. So the reason why October 1st is the date, is that trigger, is because the 2017 HMIS data standards were effective as of that date. So HMIS applications and comparable databases should have been updated by this date, and it's for that reason that the CSV, the new CSV that has been programmed to be compatible with those 2017 data standards will no longer work for Ecard. So it's that CSV report is programmed to work with Sage, no longer for Ecard. So it really depends on when your HMIS lead completed the updates in the HMIS system for the 2017 HMIS data standards. If your HMIS lead completed the update on time on October 1st, then that's the point at which you would optimally switch from using Ecard to Sage. And if the updates have not been completed yet and you're still working on your CAPER as of September 30th, October 1st, then you would still be using Ecard. So it's really just wherever your CSV report will work, depending on the HMIS lead's update of the system for the HMIS data standards, the 2017 data standards. Any CSVs pulled by subrecipients after that update, the CSV is only compatible in Sage. So if you already submitted your Ecard by September 30th prior to the transition to the 2017 data standards, you don't need to worry about Sage. It doesn't affect you until your next CAPER submission. And this is also the case if you're working on your CAPER, the data standards have not been implemented yet in your subrecipient's system, and you're pulling that report prior to the transition. We advise you to keep abreast of the availability of the CSV ESG CAPER 2017 report and the status of the HMIS updates, and be in close contact with your HMIS lead if you're unsure about whether that transition has taken place or not. So if you're on time, it would be October 1st. If the HMIS system update is not on time, then you should be in close contact with the lead to figure out which CSV is being pulled and where it's going to be compatible. Next slide, please. Okay, so here is the overlay of reporting for the Econ Planning Suite and Sage. CR60, CR70, and CR75 there are no changes whatsoever to those screens. You would fill them out and complete reporting in the Econ Planning Suite as you always have. CR65, similar to last year, you're going to leave that blank. Instead of the CSVs being saved in Ecard, they're now going to be saved in Sage. And for CR00, similar to last year where the Ecard was attached in the attachment section of CR00, this is where you can upload the Sage report as a PDF attachment. So the two screens to keep your eye on are CR65, which is blank. That's basically all of the data being reported, or which had been reported there, is now reported via CSV and Sage. And CR00 is still where you're going to do an upload. It's just going to be the Sage report that's attached instead of Ecard. Next slide, please. If you need to refer to any references for assistance with the Econ Planning Suite, Be sure that you're checking the most recent update of the Econ Planning Suite Desk Guide, which is April 2016. That's still the go-to resource for CR60, CR70, and CR75, but we are currently making updates to reflect the option to report in Sage, and that's going to be available in the next release, which is forthcoming. And if you need any assistance with Econ Planning Suite functionality, then be sure to use the AAQ for support. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to transition this over to Michelle so that she can show you how to register, navigate, send links to subrecipients, upload the CAPER CSV, and submit your data in Sage. Michelle?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this part of the presentation that we'll be doing a demo on. And we shared the wrong screen here. Here we go. This is what Sage looks like when you go to www.sagehmis.info. You're over on this screen and you log in here. Should you forget your password, feel free to hit the Forgot My Password link, and Sage will walk you through a whole process of getting a new one. Your login name, your username, is your work email address, and it's the work email address that you provided to us. Generally, when we've put it in, it's all in lowercase letters, and then your password. If you have sent in information through the AAQ to be put into Sage, or to have your other staff members be put into Sage, they were all in as of Sunday, yesterday, and should have all received an email. If they didn't get an email and you think you put them in, that's the moment to look in junk mail and spam to make sure that it didn't go there, and to make it a safe sender account in your system. If, however, you did not register and you are a recipient, you can go in and create a brand new account that looks just like this. You go in for your position, you tell them you're an ESG grantee, you want an account for Chicago. I typed in Chicago, now I'm going to pick ESG Chicago, and this brand new recipient, once I request the account, would be associated with Chicago. Many of you have asked, do I have to have an account if I'm already registered as a COC person? And no, you do not have to have two accounts, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to go in and update your account so that you can also use Sage that way. Just for clarity, anybody can test run a report without logging in, without having any of this user account stuff going on. You can just go in, select that you want to test your CSV CAPER. Sage will give you instructions on how to do that. People will upload it and test, and then if they want to print their report, they can do that too. So I know some of the HMIS systems don't allow the recipients or subrecipients to actually print out a copy of their report. They can use the system and get a printout of their report here. So let's go in and take a look at what it's going to look like. As you see, I have two account choices here. I'm logged in as a COC person for the Housing Authority at the City of Waterbury, and as an ESG person from Waterbury. I'm going to pick my Waterbury account and press go. If I only have one account, Sage won't even bring you to this page to ask you a choice. They'll just take you right to your dashboard. So I'm going to pick ESG Waterbury and go to my account there, and Sage looks like this when you've entered that. It shows you, first of all, on the top on the dashboard, a number of things that you should just know how to use and know what's there. So under resources, there's a ESG CAPER guidebook, and the COC guidebook is there. There's some tips for printing, for searching, for all kinds of things here. There's a link to ask a question and a link to the resources on the HUD Exchange. There is a place for you in your My Account to go into your own account and add yourself as an ESG grant recipient. So if you've already got an account established in Sage, you would go to My Account, you would add another association, you would tell it you're an ESG grant, and now you want to say you're affiliated with another place, and it's there, and I requested that account. Now it's pending approval because I requested it myself. It's pending approval, and the person that has to approve an ESG account is a data entry and account administrator person. So we have already registered you, if you told us you were the account administrator, as that person kind of in charge of your ESG account people. If you are not a data entry account administrator for Chicago, you would not be able to approve my pending approval. Only the Chicago data entry and account administrator person would be able to have done that here. So I can't accidentally decide that, well, I'm really not with Waterbury, I'm really with Chicago, and just go ahead and set myself up for that. That's not going to work. There's, likewise, your sub-recipients can't just go in and make an account without you getting asked to approve their account. So there's no way that a sub-recipient can come into Sage and make changes to your CAPER submission unless you've given them access. So that's kind of just a safety feature that we've put into this security. If you actually are the person that's going to approve an account, you would go into admin, look for the pending user. They would come up and you just hit approve them. So if I go in there, I can't find my test account, go in there and you'll see here that you have a choice of approving or not approving that account. Okay, let's go back to our dashboard. So from our dashboard, you see the ESG information for your community. It's coming right out of IDIS. Many of you have seen reports like this available to you, but this one is up to date as of the date that's shown on the screen. It is uploaded every Friday from IDIS into Sage. So it may be on up to a week's delay of information, but you'll know always from the date here of what the information, how fresh that information is. To access a CAPER, the first thing you're going to do is go to the Report Launchpad, and you're going to put in your program year. There are 3 steps to the CAPER, and we're going to walk you through how to do each one of those steps today. So the first thing you do is go in and put in your program dates, and it is whatever the program year is for your community, knowing that some recipients, sometimes if they're in the middle of change, have a longer year or a shorter year. People have their years set totally differently all across the country. It's up to you to set your year here. And that is the first step you do, the first thing you do before you've done anything else. The second step that you want to do then is come in and create your subrecipients. Now you have a couple of ways to do this. One is to type the information in up here so that we're going to just put in some information about who you want, who is the contact person for this transitional housing program, and what their email is. And say, as soon as you do that, Sage will send them an email and provide this link right here on the bottom to this test client that I just put into the system. So that person has received a link to be able to upload their CSV to you through Sage. If you have a community that has a lot of providers, we can and will put a link on here so you can upload all of this from a Excel spreadsheet. So should you already have this stuff on an Excel spreadsheet, you know who the contact is, you know their contact name, we can do an upload from that. And you just have to tell us via the AAQ that you want that bulk import template, and we'll be happy to turn that on in your system. So we've got all of these projects in the system, and the projects all received an email to upload. Let me show you what one of those emails looks like. It came looking just like this. They were told to click, and when they click and open the page, it looks exactly like this. They're told what project, what's their organization name, what their project type is, project name, and their operating year, so that they know what year to run their report for. So they're to generate a CSV report from their HMIS system or comparable database for the year that's showing here, and that's the program year that you entered when we started the process. So they download the CSV CAPER 2017 report from their HMIS. They save it in a place that they can find it easily. They click Browse down here. Right here are my files. I'm going to click Open, and the file just appeared from my computer in here. There's a reCAPTCHA. I'm sure most of you have seen reCAPTCHA now. It's not operational on my test system, but there's a reCAPTCHA here that if they think you might be a robot, you're asked a series of questions. If you've not asked questions, then you just upload your CAPER, and that's it. It's done. It's uploaded. There's no more fooling around. All of the answers from question 4A and question 5 are showing to the subrecipient on their screen right now, which is a way for the subrecipient to know that they picked the right project. Sage is a project level submission. So if some of you have done APRs, you know that the APR will allow you to do multiple projects that are under one grant. Sage will not. Sage wants each project on its own, so each shelter in your community would be on its own. If you have one organization that has a shelter, that has a rapid rehousing program, and maybe has a homelessness prevention program, they do all three of those things in your community, they're going to have 3 separate links, one for each one of their projects, and they'll be able to upload it here. So in this one, they're uploading their Safe Shelter, Shelter A. I can see that that's Safe Shelter, Shelter A here, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the jurisdiction. Sage automatically tells me if the caper that I tried to put in is valid. And if it's valid, it says it is, and it shows me this information. I'm going to show you what it looks like if Sage has trouble with it because it's not a valid file. So if instead I put in this file and I upload it, Sage is now going to not show me this Q4, Q5 stuff because it doesn't see any of that, and it's going to tell me exactly what's wrong with my file. So, and potentially how to fix your file. They can also email this information to themselves so that when they get off the system and they can't remember what Sage said to them, they'll have it in their email. So we're going to go back and very simply we're going to put that shelter back in. That's the right file, and that's how easy it is to change files. You just pick another one and put it in. And we've uploaded it now. We know it's okay because it says it's okay, and we're going to attach it to the jurisdiction. And Sage has now sent all that information from your subrecipient on over to you. And you'll see here that the safe shelter, shelter A, that we were just trying to put in has been received, and you now see that it was submitted to you. Sage allows you to export this information via Excel, CSV, can copy your current page, can search for people if you have long lists, it will allow you to sort the lists, so you can find people easier. I know some of you have a lot of subrecipients, and so sorting that list becomes important and searching becomes important. It'll show you automatically 10 entries, but it'll show you more if you want to see, you know, all your entries on the screen. It's a pretty friendly tool, I think. So let's go back now. So we've now sent all of our subrecipients links to apply, links to put their CSV in. Now let's talk about what you do with all of those. So in the CAPER submission, you're going to go in yourself and you're going to put in your contact information. Not a big deal. Save it. You're going to put in your grant information. Every time you have an ad on that screen like I just clicked on, it means you haven't even started that. It's showing you it's a missing folder versus that you've completed the form. If you've completed the form and you made a mistake, you press Edit, Edit, Eraser, Edit, Eraser. Edit's going to erase what you have put in already. Add is going to create a brand new thing for you. So we're going to add the grant information, and here's your amount of funding that you have spent and where you are in spending, and now what are you reporting on? Which years of funds did you spend and are reporting on at this particular time? So I'm going to check 2016, but I could say I used some 2015 money still too. And then it's going to ask you how many projects did you operate, did you fund, did you support during the reporting period. So I just simply go in and type how many I've done and how many of those projects are operational in my community. And then I hit save, and that's it. That form is completed. The additional information form that Marlisa told you about before is just asking you about HMIS and comparable database and wanting to make sure that your ESG subrecipients are on HMIS and for you to tell us yes or no. And if they're not on HMIS or there is a problem with their HMIS generating the CSV report, that you tell us that. If you tell us no, we're going to ask you, so how many times was a one-time exception template provided to them, and how many of those projects submitted a plan to you so that they would be on HMIS and compliant with the CSV requirement by next year. We ask the exact same questions for HMIS folks as we do for the comparable database folks. If I didn't answer a question, Sage fusses at me so that I have to come back and answer the question. It does not want to turn the page for you unless you answer. So now that I'm yes and there's no subdependence, I can save that form and go on. Here comes the subrecipient reports. These are the reports that the subrecipients provided to you. So again, remember here's shelter A, and you can view or print that report right now and go in and see that what that subrecipient told you, and it has all of the questions that are required on the CSV form, which is 20 some odd questions. HUD is asking recipients to, at a minimum, take a look at the clients and households and look and see, is that a reasonable amount of persons that are being served with ESG money that you would expect. So if shelter A is a mass shelter in your community and only 16 clients showed up in the CSV, something's wrong with that CSV report, or something's wrong with their data collection, or something's just going on there, because a mass shelter is not going to serve just 16 people in the course of a year. So you're looking at what's going on. If you want to delete a project because they have sent you information that wasn't really correct and you need to get them to do it again, you just simply press delete, and that upload is all gone now, and they're able to upload again in their same link. If they would have tried to upload in that same link after they did it once, Sage wouldn't take it. Sage will only take it a second time if you have deleted the first upload. So you are really fully in control of what's coming in here and what you're going to send in. They can't override it and put something else in after they put the first thing in there. If you went back and that DV, that shelter was really a DV program, and they really couldn't submit the APR from a CSV. Their system just wasn't compliant, and they said that, and they tried, and nothing came in. We'll just pretend that nothing came in here. You would come in and edit this, tell them you want to give them an exception. You want to resend the email, and you want to allow a resubmission. And we're going to save and resend. And that applicant or subrecipient will now show information in their system for you. And because I didn't refresh, it's not showing it. But this would be the notice that they normally get to say they can't upload two things. So that's where we are. We're going to come back then, and we've looked at all of this. Everything says it's completed. We're going to go ahead and view and print the complete caper. When you view and print the complete caper, it's giving you everything that everybody submitted, all aggregated together, and all of the forms you completed too. This report can be downloaded as an Excel file or printed, and it can serve as your public public notice if you feel like if you need to do public notice of all of these projects too, and this is the way you want to do it, you can generate it to do that public notice for yourself. To submit it to HUD, after you've gone through your public comment period and everything's done, all you're going to do is press submitted. You're going to put in the name of the submitter and the title of the submitter. If you want to put in notes for HUD to read, you can put in notes. Just remember they are permanent parts of the record, so it's probably not the time you want to chat with your field office rep. And by saving this, you are submitting the information contained in the CAPER to the HUD field office. The only thing about the authorized official is that they have to have a user level that is a data entry account administrator user level. So if you decided you wanted your HMIS people to help you get all these CSVs in and help coordinate that, and so you reached out to your COC or to your HMIS and maybe had one person from there come in to help you, and you gave them access to your site. You would give them access as data entry to your site. They could not submit on your behalf to HUD. So you want to be really careful if you're going to ask somebody else to join you that you give them data entry permissions only. So once we hit save, it's done. It's off. It's gone. The notes are here. If you put in notes, the whole thing's submitted. HUD has it at its field office, and they can review it as they need to. I think that completes my part of the presentation. I think we have time for a couple of questions. Natalie?
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle. So we've gotten several questions that have come in, and I'm going to do my very best to summarize a few that were frequently asked. So one question is, there are several folks who believe that they have a need for access to Sage for ESG reporting and currently have access to Sage for COC reporting. So their question has been, do they need to set up two separate accounts? So any thoughts?
No.
Okay.
So they're going to go into My Account. They're going to add themselves, add another association. So they've got the COC one. They're going to add an ESG association. They're going to fill out who that association is with, and they're going to update their account. Whoever is with them in their office that's already been approved as a data entry and account administrator will approve their account. If not, HUD field office can approve it, and so can the Ask a Question folks.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Michelle. Other questions have been whether or not recipients can upload on behalf of subrecipients, and also whether or not HMIS leads can upload in Sage on behalf of subrecipients. So any thoughts on that, Melissa?
Marlisa, are you doing that?
Sorry, on mute.
No worries, no worries.
So Michelle, can you just cover the functionality, the capability of Sage for either uploading via subrecipients or recipients?
Right. So if you wanted to give access to your HMIS lead to upload the CSVs for their subrecipients, you would still go through this whole process of creating the subrecipient, or you could have the HMIS lead do that. And then once you get here, if your subrecipient has data entry access, your subrecipient can actually see the same links that I just saw. All these links are here, and they could click on the link and submit for everybody out of their HMIS. So if that's how your HMIS is set up, that they can do that for people, or that you as the recipient have access to HMIS and you can do that for them, then more power to you. You go ahead.
Okay, perfect. All right, other questions that have come in fairly consistently are just affirming again what the process is to seek an exemption, particularly if folks are trying to use a comparable database and are running into challenges with generating the file. Just can you affirm what that process is?
Yeah, I can handle that one.
Thank you.
So, so prior to Sage, you'll remember that if you had subrecipients who were DV providers who could not generate the CSV for Ecard, we instructed you to go to the AAQ and submit a question and asking for an exemption, and to also contact your field office and me, Marlisa Grogan, to explore the possibility of a workaround, an alternate way to submit that data. We're giving you the ability as recipients to click on, if you take a look at the screen right there, up towards the front, the top, where you're entering in project data, there's a question that says, will this link allow CAPR exception uploads? If you decide as recipients to click yes, the email link, the email submission link will automatically include the exemption or the exception template for DV providers to use. So they would enter the data in manually, and then they would be able to upload that report into Sage, and it would automatically aggregate with the rest of your data. So this is meant to be a one-time exception. We, HUD, and when we're reviewing your CAPR, we're we're holding you as the recipient responsible for a complete data submission. So we're giving you the responsibility to manage that compliance with your subrecipients. And if there are any concerns, please get in contact with us via your field office or through the AAQ. It's also, we're sort of keeping tabs on the progress that your DV providers are making and coming to compliance with their comparable database functionality by asking how many exceptions that you've granted and trying to compare that to last year. So it's intended to be a one-time exception, just to give them enough time to go from this year's submission, working on their system, to next year's submission, where they're submitting a CSV.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Marlisa, were there any other common questions that you saw pop up that you want to share with the group before we wrap up? I think we've gotten through quite a few of them, but I saw you answering some, so just wanted to be sure there were none I was missing.
Yes, I mean, I just want to, I want to touch upon the sort of the functionality of this system for recipients with many subrecipients. There are some that have like close to 100 subrecipients, and this system was designed for ease of use with larger recipients in mind. The first step is labor intensive in the sense that you have to enter project data, project information at the outset, but this list, once it's created, is available to you for future years. So if you have subrecipients that are funded year after year, that list is there for you with the subrecipient contact information, so that doesn't go away after you enter it first. And the system was designed to do as much as possible for you, and then also give your subs the ability to upload the data so you don't have to keep track of it, for the system to do as much of that as possible. If you still have concerns, then please let us know via AAQ. And the one other thing I want to reiterate is how this is optional. So we, if there's any reason why you don't think you can use Sage, let us know and we can work through that. But otherwise, know that if you've got your CSVs and Ecard already done, even though it's after October 1st, don't worry about it. It's really whether or not the CSVs were pulled prior to the 27 HMIS update or after. Again, if you have any questions, let us know, and we can help you work through any confusion.
Okay. Great. Well, I see that we've been able to address quite a few of the questions, but if there are any questions that we were not able to address today, please don't hesitate to let us know by asking that question again through the HUD Ask a Question desk. We are, as a quick reminder, going to record and provide a copy of today's webinar slides on the HUD Exchange website, and we will aim to have that live within the next several days after the webinars occur. And as a final reminder, there will be a webinar this week on Thursday that is geared again towards ESG subrecipients. So if you have folks that maybe were not able to make it today, please be sure to remind them of the webinar later on this week. Thank you guys again for your time. Thank you again so much to Michelle and to Marlisa for your presentation, and we will talk to you all again soon. Thank you.